Weather Service has issued a severe weather warning for all counties in the surrounding.
The gaming community has been presented with so many good titles over the past few decades and continues to expand and create new games. There are so many popular titles that you have a hard time walking around anywhere without finding a video game promo here, video game merch there. We've gotten so accustomed to this nowadays that when a new game comes out, consumers play it, complete it, and never look back. Some games are presented with a linear storyline, some games with no storyline at all. Some games have storylines that are often overlooked, stories that shape the game and often tie back to tragic events leading up to them. Even the developers leave a lot of this up for speculation to make you ponder. Today, we'll be looking into some of those games.
Berkeley don't like none of you.
Area 53 is a short indie game meant to turn out and eventually be an RPG. However, it never got very far in production, and when you get to the first boss in the game, things take a turn for the worse.
You finna get this work though. Whoa!
Creepy events begin happening as you make your way back to the castle, flashing strange images, seeming to shed light on a real-life situation. It's said that the game is corrupted and the creepy phone calls and pictures reflect on the fact that the woman called the police after killing 3 people.
Harper 911, what is your emergency? 3 people. Ma'am, what's the problem? Are you injured? Did you say dead?
It's oddly eerie.
Like, I'm being punished.
Pokemon is extremely influential in today's culture, so much in fact that it has multiple shows, movies, merchandise, and of course games. I mean, how could you not like Pokemon? The vast majority of the Pokemon are completely adorable, or cool looking, with the exception of a few, but never mind those. The Pokemon we know and love nowadays are used for Pokemon battles and being constant companions for almost everyone in the universe. However, there's evidence to prove they weren't always like that. In fact, there's evidence to prove that Pokemon are similar to humans, or to get even deeper, that they are humans in an evolved state. No, not that kind of evolved. Well, actually, kind of. Well, here's the thing, the Pokemon world is different from our own, obviously, but Pokemon energy seems to manifest everywhere. In Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, there's a library containing stories that tell of a past lifestyle in the Pokemon world. There once were humans and Pokemon that ate at the same table. It was a time when there existed no differences to distinguish the two. This implies that at one point people began turning into Pokemon or evolving into them. We don't know for sure what happened and how long it took for these events to take place, but we do know some people took advantage of that. Some people went into research, and some people began befriending them and forcing the Pokemon to hurt each other for their own amusement. So much as to where they bring about stadiums with gym leaders and create tools to catch Pokemon without the worry of them ever escaping. See where I'm going with this? To fully understand, we need to go back to the beginning, or at least the earliest we know of Pokemon's canon in the games. And by that I mean Pokemon Go. While it came out after the original games, it takes place before it. There's evidence to prove that as well. Now, most of the original evidence had to do with the fact that Pokemon Go didn't have some of the Pokemons that started in Gen 1. However, they've added most of them in. However, some evidence still stands. Evidence like this. All the different candies. The candies you find everywhere in Pokemon Go. They're used to level your Pokemon, not just plain experience like in Gen 1 games and up. There's also a form of the rare candy in the Pokemon Go games, and that's what I think remains in Generation 1 and up. All the rest of the candies seem to just cease to exist. With that being said, maybe those candies were outlaws and the only ones that remained were the rare candies, but only because they were rare and hard to find. But that's a story for another time. This does imply that a lot of this is new to them as well, and from what you see, the people aren't caveman, they still have technology. So if Pokemon being captured in these Pokeballs wasn't always a thing, that must imply that Pokemon weren't always present, meaning something happened, whether that being half the population just suddenly turned into Pokemon, or some sort of evolution. It's clear that Pokeballs being made in this place were meant to capture Pokemon so that they can study them and maybe find out why the people disappeared. I mean, we already know some legendary Pokemon have the abilities to do crazy magical things. Some can even lead to the complete annihilation of the planet. Would it be so far of a stretch to suggest that it's possible that a human angered one of the first Pokemon, i.e. a legendary Pokemon, which then led to a curse, turning them into Pokemon? The Pokédex says Kadabra was literally just a kid, and he turned into a Kadabra one morning. Yamask is a Pokemon that only comes about after a human has died, then they arise from the grave retaining the memories of their past lives. Phantump was literally a stump that was possessed by children that died in the forest. There's even a human-like category of Pokemon with clear similar features to humans. With that being said, there's no official way of telling exactly what brought about humans turning into Pokemon, but we do know that some of it's actually true. And we don't know for sure that all Pokemon came from humans, but it does make it a bit scary to think about the Pokemon that did, and what the world has evolved into, exploding the fate of the unlucky humans involved. Man, I love Animal Crossing. From the friendly animals to the cutesy art style, even the saving up every single bell you own in order to pay off a greedy sociopath who not only runs the only essential store, but is also your landlord no matter what, will not stop forcing you to give him bells. No, I do not want another house upgrade. Sorry about that. What can I say, the game's very popular if you haven't already heard about it, and with New Horizons being released, I'm almost positive that you've seen it somewhere if you're watching this video. The goal is simple. Kinda. Technically, you can do whatever you want on your island/town, but if you want to do any upgrading or decoration, you require the game's currency called bells. That's how you buy everything from house upgrades to new tools for your hobbies such as bug catching or fishing. Seems innocent and happy, right? Well, let's take a step back. We're not gonna be talking about New Horizons in this one. With the exceptions of other players, you're the only human character you ever come across. The adorable character models, you can assume your character's a kid, and it's a bit strange that you decide to move out and live on your own. But your parents still send you letters, seeming more like you were sent away to summer camp or boot camp. But that's nothing. Let's just take a look at the character that brings you to these locations. A character named Cap'n, found in Wild World City Folk in New Leaf, is always the one that transports you to these locations. You're probably thinking, so what, he's just a weird looking turtle. Well, yes, but no. He's actually something called a Kappa. Now, in Japanese folklore, Kappas are known for being mischievous and tricksters. Their behaviors can be trivial things such as stealing, to more twisted actions such as drowning people and animals and eating human flesh, and the icing on the cake? Kidnapping children. Yes, you heard that correctly. The animal transporting you around may not be trying to drown you or eat your flesh, but there's no doubt there was some manipulation involved in you ending up here with Tom Nook. However, in the first Animal Crossing game, you're greeted by a cat named Rover, who finds an interest in you for some reason. Maybe because you're the only human in a society made for modern animals. He tells us of his friend Tom Nook, and then tells us he can help us find a place to stay. Seems nice, right? Until you think about the fact that he goes to the back to speak to Nook. You already see what he says. He doesn't necessarily say anything menacing. That just kind of makes it sketchier that he couldn't say it in front of you. Maybe Rover here owes Nook a favor, or maybe him and Nook are also partners in crime along with Cap'n. Which could mean a lot about the other islanders. There's more. Now, we know Nook is a raccoon. In folklore, they're known for being tricksters as well, and tend to use cleverness and dexterity to escape danger. The key point here could be you were kidnapped and believed to be taken to a place where you start your new life, but you were manipulated by Nook to handle gathering all the bells to upgrade the town/island by yourself, making Nook rich and you stuck in debt. However, I think it's even deeper than that. There's an Easter egg in the first Animal Crossing game. If you use a memory card with the second town on it and use the train to transport yourself to it, then in the process of traveling to the new town reset your game, something happens. Your character's face is replaced with holes where your eyes used to be, and a petrified mouth remains. Your inventory has no belongings, and all of your bells disappear. I believe that in Animal Crossing, our favorite money-grubbing raccoon, with the help of his accomplice Kappa and sketchy cat friend, successfully transport us to the town to do his bidding, and then murder us. Yeah, it seems like a stretch for a Nintendo game, but if you remember what I said earlier, raccoons are said to use cleverness and dexterity to avoid dangerous situations, and we know every game there's a different location, with you prompted to make another character. A character that just might be next on Nook's list. To be honest, it's hard to sum up the story of Dark Souls in such a short time period, but here we go. You play as either the Chosen Undead, Bearer of the Curse, or the Ashen One. You're thrown into the game with no information other than controls and some Estus, and you make your way through the game slaying enemies, from dragons to demons. It's iconic at this point for setting up a whole playstyles of game. Rage. Souls-like. You could literally go through all the games with no idea that there was a story because it's so cryptic. You're drawn to find clues about the story through item descriptions, what's given to you, and the small amounts of dialogue you receive throughout your playthroughs. To summarize the story, there was an age of grey. There were dragons and hollows, empty shells of humans just walking around aimlessly and endlessly. On one fateful day, Gwyn, Lord of Sunlight, the Witch of Izalith, Gravelord Nito, and the furtive Pygmy all found lore souls which they used to rise in power, establish kingdoms, and eventually challenge the immortal dragons to stop their rule. Lord Gwyn, his loyal knights Nito, the Witch of Izalith, and the mortal dragon named Seath successfully defeat the dragons, stripping them of their rule and moving forward into the Age of Light. Many events transpired during this time. The Witch of Izalith fails to recreate the first flame, creating a civilization of angry deformed demons. And Gwyn eventually comes to combat this, leaving Izalith in ruins. Gwyn establishes the Ring City for the Pygmies in order to keep them in check and worshipping him. But then, the flame starts to fade. Gwyn, in a fleeting attempt to save his Age of Fire, seems to connect his soul to the first flame. This then links a curse to almost every being with humanity, forcing them into a cycle, constantly dying for the cause of linking the flame to keep his Age of Light going longer. Your body would keep decaying. You would continue to forget who you are until you're left with an empty, thoughtless husk, never to return to your humanity. The fire was supposed to go out. You were then supposed to go into an Age of Dark. That was nature's course. Gwyn's fear caused endless suffering throughout the lands. Firekeepers are brought back to life to harness the flame, and then are thrown out when the fire is linked. And the protagonist is burned alive to preserve a time period that was meant to pass over. This land is horrible and treacherous, and nothing less. The only way for the natural order of things to go the way they're supposed to is to give the blind firekeeper eyes to see the deceit, and to finally plunge the world into the Age of Dark. Or you could harness the power for yourself, or maybe you'll bring the world into an Age of Hollows. Whichever is correct is up to you to decide. The open seas of an alien planet, Subnautica. This game will always have a special place in my heart considering how much I love the ocean. There's so much detail in the game. You can make bases and cool equipment and vehicles and eventually a spaceship. Your goal is to find a way to get off this alien planet you crash landed on, but the story is so much deeper than that. When you first get on the planet, you start grabbing peepers for food and gathering salt and coral for water. You explore the environment, trying to build a new equipment, and boom! You're infected. Yeah, you're infected. With an extremely lethal disease with a 100% death rate, unless you can find a cure. A lot of people don't notice until you get deep into the game, but come in contact with any of these creatures with the green spots on them will doom you to a slow death by the Cara disease. The only way to survive it is to find the cure known as Enzyme 42. From then on, it's undeniable that you'll find the abandoned alien facilities. They weren't necessarily abandoned though, they were eradicated by the disease. Around the end of the story, you finally find the Sea Emperor Leviathan, a friendly being trapped in the research facility made by the aliens. You find out that the aliens before you died because they refused to comply with the Sea Emperor, and she refused to help them find the cure for the disease. The cure was researched by the aliens, and it was found in the Sea Emperor babies when they're hatched, but only when under the correct conditions. They refused to listen to the Sea Emperor and give her what she wanted, and it led to their eventual end. You follow her instructions, turn off the anti-aircraft weapon that destroyed the Aurora, build your ship, and leave the planet. Cured. To me, what really sticks about the story is the refusal to comply to the other beings, leading to the complete eradication of the entire species. If that were to happen on planet Earth, do you think we would comply? Duck season. No, not duck hunt, duck season. Yeah, that. The game is simple. You play a bit of duck season, beat a couple high scores, and accidentally release a murderous, maybe animatronic dog into the real world. What, too sudden? Duck Season is a stress level 0 VR game about a kid playing a game reminiscent of Duck Hunt for the NES. Except, there's a twist. Instead of that weird dog laughing at you for having terrible aim, he's out for destruction. He's been stuck in this game for a while, and whatever he is, he's alive and wants out no matter the cost. To the very bitter end, he will watch the player and plot his escape into the real world. You either end up stuck in the game forever in the dog's place, killed by the dog, you run away after he murders your mother, you nuke everything, call 911 on the dog and get him killed, or have a fiesta. Yeah. There's also another weird ending when you get all the other ones, where he says he's your father or something, but that one's not canon, so okay. No, the apparent canon ending is the one where the dog escapes into the real world and kills your mother. Just knowing that that evil creature, whatever it is on the loose causing destruction out there is just eerie. I mean, obviously it's not real. Or is that him right behind you? There are many popular theories about the story of Majora's Mask, but I have to say my favorite has got to be the theory that implies that throughout your time playing the game, worried about a moon crashing into the planet, annihilating everything and everyone on the face of the planet, your character is actually already dead. Yeah, sorry Link. Okay, so my first point here is the mask salesman repeating his dialogue, implying something bad happens to Link. At first it seems to be referring to something smaller on the surface, but it's said more than once throughout the story. You've met with the terrible fate, haven't you? While the game isn't too dark or creepy if you disregard the giant moon crashing towards Earth, the story may harbor a deep secret often overlooked by the players of the game. Another reason for the belief comes from the fact that throughout the game, there are events that suggest Link is going through the 5 stages of grief, maybe coming to terms with the fact that he's no longer alive. In the beginning, no one seems to care, or they're just disregarding the fact that the moon is crashing towards the planet. Or you could say they're in denial. The Deku King has lost his princess and doesn't know where to find her, leading him to accuse anyone he could find because he's angry. The Gora leader Damani comes to Link in form of a ghost in order to beg Link to bring him back to life so he can live a little longer. He is bargaining. Eventually you find there's nothing you could do, and this makes him depressed. Lulu, a Zora who's lost her egg, doesn't go on a wild search trying to recover them. She just accepts the fact that they're gone. Denial, anger, bargain, depression, and acceptance. The 5 stages of grief are all present in Majora's Mask, maybe symbolic of the fate of everyone's eventual doom to the crashing moon, to some form of purgatory for the people who cannot accept the fact that they're gone. It makes the quote so much more symbolic and mysterious. You've met with the terrible fate, haven't you? Imagine being an orphan, hoping to find a new home, a loving family, and start a new life, free of the system, being promised a better life, but that new life of yours turns out to be abusive and demeaning, and eventually leading to your death. The game known as Petscop has events that seem to reflect the fate of Candace Newmaker. The game has what are called pets, and are almost symbolic of Pokemon, except you have to manipulate them into joining you, giving them that false security and the idea of them being safe with you. Apparently there are 3 categories in the game, but only shown for one character: A, B, and NLM. Each stage represents a different point in the pets' lives involving tragic events, all the way up to NLM, which stands for Nobody Loves Me. Apparently there are ways to nurture NLM pets back to their past forms, back down to B and A, or in other words, make them feel loved. You're also presented with the option to just throw them away if you don't like them, which is where it all comes back to our story. Treat no one as property or expendable, and make sure you tell your loved ones you care for them. You never know what's beneath the surface. Okay, it's not like this one's hidden behind a friendly storyline or something. The game is terrifying by itself. There are so many mysteries, so many pieces of lore left unfound and events unexplained. The game has some of the deepest lore in all known video game franchises. so much that it spans across multiple different games, all giving you pieces that you're in charge of putting together to fully understand the story. As if everyone doesn't know the story already, on the surface it seems like a simple survival horror game. You're immobilized and tasked with being a security guard for the restaurant. Then, the animatronic mascots begin trying to hunt you down and stuff you into a suit. Seems like it's just a game mechanic to give you incentive on not to lose and focus on beating the game. However, it's much more sinister than that. The real story about the game revolves around a man named William Afton. After a series of murders and the death of his daughter, he begins to realize the animatronics have souls manifesting inside of them, or more accurately, the souls of the poor kids who were murdered in the restaurant. He then proceeds to try to understand the secrets behind the animatronics coming to life and how souls are tied to them. Your time playing the game promptly informs you of the events that took place, where it began, and how it all ended for the Afton family, which eventually leads to his timely end, banishing him to the underworld, or purgatory, forced to be tortured by the very children he had once taken the lives of.
This time, death cannot save you.
Forever and endlessly, as the first one he killed ties his soul to Afton, never allowing him to rest, continuously dying and coming back. If you ask me, this is karma in its simplest form. Do wrong, and you shall be punished, sometime or later. I know what you're thinking. Why would you put a graphic novel dating sim as #1 on your list? Unsubscribe, dislike. Well, unless of course you already know the secrets behind this game. The game slips over many gamers who don't dedicate enough time to fully understand it. In fact, most people would never notice that you need to get through the whole game in order for there to be any changes in it. However, when you do complete the game, you begin to notice some things are off. Characters are starting to disappear, and they're worse, and their personalities are being brought to light, seemingly being exploited. Things get even worse as you further progress. Everything kicks off at the end. Sayori hangs herself, Yuri stabs herself, and Atsuki is deleted along with her afterwards. Now why would that be happening? There's no way you wouldn't be getting off vibes after all that, especially after you realize something about the game. Every girl ends up missing from the game or dead, except for Monica. Monica wants to be your favorite, so much as to where she manipulates the game in order to make her seem more appealing to others, and bringing out all the insecurity of the other characters. Now to me, that's scary enough, but it gets even worse. She begins not only deleting characters from the game in order to gain favor of you as a player, but also messing with your computer's actual files. Monica wants you all to herself, well, no matter what the cost, she's gonna get what she wants. The only way to save yourself from her is to in turn delete her character file so she can't alter anything further. Or is it already too late? Imagine if someone were to create a character with the same artificial intelligence, but instead of in a game as a joke, it's an actual manifestation living on the internet. Things would get a lot darker. Thanks for watching the top 10. Got lots more of this kind of content coming very soon. If you don't want to miss out on that, make sure you hit subscribe and show the video some love so I can push out more of these babies. There's also some videos there you can click on if you want to, which I know you do. You know you want to click on some more of those. You can also find me on my socials, either Twitter or Instagram. Alright, I'm out. See you guys in the next video.